YouTube. It's Aid here from Skidmore Second-Hand Tyres. I was tagged by Paul SM's of Bushcraft, formerly Survivalman Bushcraft, to answer 6 questions that he'd been challenged to answer, and nominate a couple of people. And so the questions are, there's 6 of them, and the first one is, what do you think of the terms prepper and survivalist, and do you use them yourself? Well, no, not really. I don't consider myself to be a prepper or really a survivalist, beyond the fact that I've managed to get into my 50s with just a broken ankle and what, about 6 or 7 stitches and a few knocks and bruises. So I don't think I've done too bad as a survivalist in that way. The term prepper has always been a media tag really for people that, as everyone sort of really explains and says, going out shopping makes you a prepper. So long as I've got food, drink, baccy, I suppose I am a prepper. And question 2, when did you realise you were a prepper or survivalist, or is it something you've always done? Ever since I was a kid, I used to play an awful lot of time, spend a lot of time in the woods and making camps with a couple of mates and whatever, and wandering around and imagining we were the only ones left in the world and that sort of thing. So I suppose that makes you sort of like a survivalist in some ways, and always had an interest in that sort of thing. I remember buying a book when I was about 11 or 12 at secondary school. It used to have book sales, and I bought one about how to survive in a situation and make yourself a little survival tin out of a old Andrews tin it was, and had a bit of polythene to make a bivvy, some fishing line. I can't fish for toffee, and things like that, and matches and whatnots, and was always sort of, again, making little fire pits and trying to cook tins of spaghetti hoops or whatever, and then struggling to cut them open with a penknife. And so I suppose ever since I was young really, I sort of had this inclination to do things like that and try and sort of be independent in the wild or wherever. I've said before about my granddad. He used to knock himself up a stew when at work in the little snack cabins they had, and everyone else used to take their flasks and their sandwiches along, and he was sitting there eating a bit of stew that he'd put on in the morning and come in at lunchtime to eat. And I suppose that was a bit of an influence as well. And when I was at the pit, we used to put our pasties on the transformer until snap time, and then they'd be all nice and warm. And at the tunnel we used to cook bacon and sausages and things on halogen lights. So we'd have a little barbecue over a 500 or 1000 watt halogen light bulb fitting, and so I've always done bits and pieces to make life easy and a bit more interesting. And I suppose also the thing about awareness of where you are and what's going on around you was sort of like part of the training I had through my apprenticeship, and it always was something, and it still is something to this day that I carry on. And it makes me wonder sometimes when I see these people walking around with their heads down in their mobile phones and they're wandering across the road without being aware at all of what's coming towards them. And likewise the dash cam videos of drivers and pedestrians and cyclists, and also, it has to be said, most of the people with the dash cam, they sort of just plough on regardless, even though you can see what's going to happen in a minute where the car is going to pull out in front of you. They just carry on and don't seem to sort of take any evasive action. So again, that's a sort of like a survivalist mentality in some ways, I think, is to anticipate what's going to happen and try and avoid it happening to you or or hurting you in any way. So I suppose everyone's a survivalist in some ways. And what's your favourite film, TV series and book? Well, over the years I've read loads and loads of books about the First and Second World War. I like the actual sort of like war memoirs of the soldiers and airmen and sailors and merchant marine, the personal experiences ever so much. And when I was again back at school, I read a lot of stuff and loved the stories of the escapes from Colditz and the Stalags, and I sort of picked up on a few of the little tips and hints that they sort of worked out for themselves about living from the wild, and even down to like drink as much water as you can and you'll stay hydrated for longer than if you sort of if you just sort of drink it like a cup of tea in the morning before you go out. Before they went out off of the you know, on their escape routes, they would drink as much water as they can and then carry as well what they could, so they last longer with using less water on the carry. Things like that always fascinated me. And I love film noir, American and English. One of my favourite films of all time really is Brighton Rock, the original, and the remake in, when was it, 2012-13, is also very good. And again, the book by Graham Greene I've read over and over again, and I don't know what appeals to me about it, but I just love it. And it's a great story, and it's sort of I just love that sort of genre of film. And music, things like Blues Brothers, that sort of thing. I like post-apocalyptic films as well, and books. I mean, Paul refers to the James Herbert books. I've read those, and On the Beach, Neville's Shoot is another fantastic book. Again, there's a lot of survivor and you know, post-apocalyptic sort of themes to the storylines. And bug in or bug out? Well, again, really, as someone who doesn't think of themselves as a prepper or anything like that, I suppose probably the safest thing to do is to bug in most situations, because I don't really know many places where I can go where I've got a water supply, and where I could live off the land. So I guess that what we've got in the cupboards and what we can procure at short notice is probably be better to bug in, and hope for the best that way. Comes an aeroplane or a helicopter. I normally dive out of the workshop to have a look and see what flies over, because we get some fantastic machinery flying over it. Now this next one, if you could learn one skill Matrix style, what would it be? I've absolutely no idea, because I've never seen any of the Matrix films. By the sound of what Paul says, it's like something's downloaded into your head, that and it gives you all of the information you need for that particular subject. I suppose to play the guitar better would be nice. That's about it really. I can't think of any anything else that really that I'd like to do better, but that's entirely down to my dedication or lack of it. But I mean, a lot of stuff I've learned, I've sort of downloaded into my head off of YouTube by watching as many of the films on the subject as I can, and you pick up the best points from each of the films that you watch, and also with the things I've learnt over the years that I can combine with them. So I suppose I'd have to really say YouTube rather than Matrix. I've no idea what that's all about. Right, so this next one is that the nation's disenchanted tracksuit wearing corner botherers have organised into a feral army and are smashing their way across the borough, and you are advised to leave your home. What 5 items would you take? Well, I might take a hoodie. I have one that I can wear and disguise myself as a corner botherer. I don't have any shell suit trousers though, and I certainly don't have any trainers or plimsolls. But I would take obviously Kath, my current life partner, of choice, and probably a couple of my guitars and some clothes, and I don't know where I'd go. Again, I've not really thought about anything like that at all, but yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that, because I don't really think along the prepper lines, really. But I'd be going in my car somewhere as far away as I could, so I suppose I'd take the sleeping bag and some food as well. So that's what I would do. So I've now got to nominate a couple of people to pass these questions on to, and I'll have to think about that a little bit, because I haven't given that any thought at all. See, I told you I wasn't a prepper, so I'll get back to you in a minute when I've come up with the names. Well, I've had a think about it, and the 2 people I'd like to nominate for this challenge, the answering the questions, are BA Survival, who I've always known as Bar, or always call him Bar, because I don't think I've ever found his name out, but he has a good channel, and he does what it says on the tin. He does survival stuff. He's very keen on the bow drill and hand drill, and he's done some nice videos of living or staying up in the woods and with some minimal kit, and he's worth a check out if you haven't ever checked him out before. And the second one is Steve from the Third Centre Outdoors, who again is a really nice bloke, and he's done some wild camping, and he's making himself a permanent camp in a little bit of woodland near where he lives, and again he's done some interesting things, and he's worth a check out as well. So Steve and Bar, please consider yourself challenged. I will be contacting them, so it's not such a surprise or that they missed the video, but hopefully they'll rise to the challenge as well. So thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on, everybody. I do hope to be back up in the woods sometime soon. Everything's been against me for the last few months, and I've had work on and whatnot, and so I haven't had a chance to get out really very much at all, only for some walks for a long time. I desperately need to do an overnighter, because they are good for your soul. See you all later. Cheerio.